Hello, Channel Automation podcast listeners. Welcome back into another deep dive into the techniques that convert leads. I'm your host, Casey Arise, and today I am joined by Chaz Tedesco of Call Tools. Did I get that one right?
Yeah, you did, Chaz. I try not to be a Chad. I know there's a whole stigma out there now with the
Oh,
Chad
okay,
with the
okay.
Z. So I try to be Chaz with the Z. I do sometimes correct people. Sometimes I'll let it go. But no, you did it perfect, Casey. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you were able to make it. Tell me a little bit about your role at Call Tools.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, at Call Tools, I'm the chief operating officer. I've been with the company for about 4 years now. But my journey with Call Tools actually began way back around, I think, 2016. I was a customer with a large solar organization. We had about, oh man, I don't even remember, a couple hundred agents on the system, and had a lot of success. So I was a customer with that organization for about 4 years. I was a customer with a B2B company of Call Tools for about 2 years with about 40 agents. And then, did some soul searching, always kept up with the team over here. And when I let them know I was looking to maybe change things up, they said, that's it. And they snatched me and brought me in. So it's been an incredible kind of full circle journey to get here. And I love what we do. So it's really awesome.
It's good to be snatched.
Yes. Yes, it is good to be snatched. That's for sure.
Yeah, especially if you got the right company that's pulling you in. It's excellent. It's probably the best way to go once you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go move on. If you have people like already ready to take you in,
Yeah.
it's great. Yeah.
Well, it's the alignment too, and unfortunately, you hear so much out there that there's amazing companies maybe, but you're not aligned with maybe the leadership, and that's kind of where I found myself. Where in my previous two roles, like I loved what we were doing, we were having a lot of success, a lot of growth, but I just couldn't align myself with the leadership and with the some of the directions we were moving as an organization. But when you find a home, you know it, and it just feels right, and that's the way I feel about the team here at Call Tools. It's
And
really
by the
good
way, your
people.
outfit is
They're
spot
amazing.
on. We were talking about it a little bit earlier. Like you got the matching hat, and then I'm slacking over here. I gotta have my matching
Oh
hat and my
no,
matching shirt
please,
too. And everybody who's
please,
like
please.
listening on one of the non-video platforms that we're posting, he's wearing a Call Tools hat and a Call Tools polo that match very nicely.
Although my wife might say the blue doesn't match the black, so she might get on me about that.
Oh,
But
that's a dark blue. That's
it looks close
fine.
enough, right? Close enough on your end.
Yeah, exactly. So I know that you guys at Call Tools work with segmentation, like data segmentation. Tell me a little bit
Sure,
about those data points that you pull and how that actually affects conversion rates, because sometimes people are
sure.
pulling a bunch of items out, like people are bragging, they're like, oh, we can detect gender, we can detect age, we can detect homeowner or not homeowner and stuff. Like, how
Sure.
does that help with conversion? What are the metrics that are actually good to record?
Yeah, amazing. So not so much in us like identifying or like enriching the data, although we do integrate with a lot of enrichment and kind of appending tools out there. But more so, once you have your data living in our system, we do have like a CRM, like a database. And when you're setting up your calling campaigns using our software, you're able to very easily just filter exactly who you want to target. So you can give me everybody in the state of Florida in this list of 20 zip codes. I think of like home services or anything that's geographic, right? In my example, that's been called 3 or less times by us. We've tried them 3 or less times, and maybe you pick out an attribute that is meaningful, right? Give me people who are car owners, right? And what will happen is it'll generate a list real time. Let's call it 5,000 leads that meet that criteria. And then you'd attach that to your campaign and call it. And I think really what's very powerful about that sounds just like basic filtering, but a lot of dialing platforms out there, they'll require you to upload a list and you attach that list to the campaign, right? And what that creates is, because in a previous life I've ran a lot of different systems, is that then you're going to call through that list. You're going to have to get your call outcomes, right? Your dispositions, export that from the system, scrub it. Okay, maybe I want to put back in my no answers or my, whatever those dispositions are. Then you're uploading a new list and then you're attaching the list again, rinse and repeat. Whereas with call tools, you can simply just write that filter real time. It'll look at all the attributes of your records in real time, and that's the list you're going to attach and call.
People are still doing that old school thing where they're exporting after to get dispos and stuff. That's crazy. That's like living outside on the Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, that's it, And you when you say Excel spreadsheet, I remember back, way back when, before I got involved with call centers and technology, it would always be the game of, okay, Casey, I got an Excel spreadsheet we're going to call on. I'll start at the top, you start at the bottom, and then we'll hopefully not overlap as we kind of meet on the
You're
file.
triggering my PTSD. Stop
So.
that.
Right. So, yeah, definitely a long ways from that experience.
And on channel automation, we do the same thing. Like we have the same kind of filters that you're talking about, but like everything
That's
lives
awesome.
within the
Yes.
system. And so, yeah, there's no export, re-upload, hullabaloo, and then you can like actually see things in real time. And there's the option to upload the list and have it associated with the tag if you want to do it that way, but never
Sure.
pulling it
Yeah.
back out unless it's like, I want to have a list of DNCs and check it against something, blah, blah, blah. The CRM
Right.
and the we have bi-directional communication with the CRM, so the DNC should go back and forth. But
That's amazing.
I digress.
I've always been. I think I came up to Vic and yourself. I think Vic we spoke with about a year ago, and we were going to do something that never came around to it. And I saw you at Lead Generation World over at the booth there, and that's where I kind of said, Casey, we got to get on this podcast. We got to do this. So
Definitely,
I'm very much looking forward to it. But that was the thing, is that I know you guys have a very powerful platform. I was impressed by it when I demoed it way back when, and I'm sure it's only been getting better since the last time I've seen it.
Every couple of months it's something different, and I'm not saying in a good or a bad way. It's literally like
Sure.
if you think that you've had all the features, I guarantee you there's going to be something coming around in a couple months that you can take advantage of. Right now, we're
That's
doing
amazing.
really solid work with AI in both voice and in text message, which I actually want to lead you into that a little bit.
Yes, please.
How is speed to lead evolving? Because I know a lot of traditional speed to lead is you connect to the person as fast as possible on the phone, but we do have a lot of people, including our own service, that are able to like sneak in and do a text message or call in with AI automatically, and you're not using those outbound dialers.
It's getting better than it's ever been and more competitive than it's ever been. But I think the stat is, I'll lead with the stat and then I'll go through my philosophy and then also how we handle the call tools, is that, and this might even be dated. It seems like every time I think I have a stat, like the industry changes it on me and it's a different one. But if you don't get somebody, and this is for phone calls, on the phone within 5 minutes of them filling out the lead form, your chances of getting them on the phone on that first phone call drops by 500%. So, and I think there's also an incremental percentage. I guess if it's 500% in 5 minutes, it probably goes down by 100% every minute that you're not calling, which is crazy. So that being said, I think my personal philosophy is you have to hit them on every channel, right? If you send them an email right away and a text message and then you call, nobody's going to get angry at you and say, hey, Casey, you just texted me. How dare you call me as well? Are you crazy? No, it's more so like, wow, like I think you get the wow factor, right? Wow, you emailed me, texted me. Oh my goodness, yeah, hi, yeah. Oh, well, I am interested. Let's go. And
yeah, because
like
other people aren't doing it. They're not breaking through.
They're not doing it. So that's important. With call tools, we do have the mechanisms in place where you could do two different options for outbound calling speed to lead. One is what we call hot lead bucket. So you're power dialing, you're predictive dialing in your campaign. The second that lead comes in, we have a bucket that it hits, and it basically jumps the entire list, and it's the next dial that goes out, so that it's pretty much within seconds. It's calling out to that person. We also have another mechanism called user distribution queue, where essentially it's a pop-up to, let's just say, 5 or 10 of your best agents. It's more of a manual pull, so like they'll see it, and then they'll all fight to like click the button and win that lead, and then they're the ones who get the opportunity to reach out and call. So
it's
couple
crazy
different
how
ways you
there's
can handle
still the
that.
race going on to be the first person to get in touch with
Yeah,
somebody. And I do think, like, when
yeah.
we were talking about TCPA, and I know that now I'm going to date myself a little bit now that it's to the point of where TCPA is going to be the same way as it's been for a long time without the stuff
Wow.
changing straight
Yeah.
away. uh and we made so many things on the podcast to try to help you get past that. It's like not fair, but you
Yeah.
know, it is what it is. Things change last minute. um
Sure.
where was I going with that?
You had a great build
I
up.
know.
TCPA, you were getting somewhere.
Yeah. No, when it comes to like contacting people first and contacting people too
Yes.
much, I honestly think the too much thing is like it's a lower tier, just because
Sure.
it's like it's changed so much in the realm of what you're going to be fighting for, quote unquote, and people
Sure.
answering numbers that they don't like, that they aren't recognizing. That's
Sure. That's
another
very
thing
important.
that
Yeah.
people need to like keep in mind, that like it's like, hey, maybe you don't know who they are until they text or email you, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, what is
I
your
had a
opinion on
client.
voicemails, by the way?
Voicemails, I think it depends on what type of lead it is, and if they're if they're opting in, they want to hear from Chaz at Call Tools. I think leaving a voicemail is great. Um, depending if you're doing some type of colder outreach or something like that, may not be so great, right? So I think it's very campaign specific. Um, but I think it's always, again, in addition to other things, right? You're not just going to leave a voicemail and be like, all right, mark this guy off. He got my voicemail, and hopefully he'll call me back.
Yeah, you say that you're
Whenever.
not going to do
You
that,
know?
but you wouldn't believe how many people just do that and they just check it off the
Oh
list.
man, oh man, I had a client. That's where I was going to go next. Was I spoke with them earlier this week, and they have the best, I think, to me, the best lead gen you can get. They have people that stand in Home Depot, Lowe's, and they'll actually generate interest for the leads in person. So you would walk in, I would physically meet you, shake your hand, get your information, and that's the quality of leads that they have, like super high quality. And they had their call cadences set up. I think they were calling them once every couple days. I don't know. Again, this is where I can't speak fully to their strategy. I don't know if they had the text and the email channels going behind the scenes or not. I was there as the call tools, calling end of it. And then once they got to 10 contact attempts, they're like, I don't want to bother these people. I think that's it. We're just going to stop calling them. And I almost fell out of my chair. I said, what? I said, you've got leads in here that,